Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but first, we want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. So stay with us for the next 3 minutes. If you're new to the show, these are all great companies. I used them as an athletic director. I really think you should check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, it's probably the best purchase I ever made as an athletic director. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success, and so will you. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you will use every single day. And even if your state has a different administration software, as an individual high school, you can use Home Campus. And the features, you got to see it to believe it. The athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is the gold standard. Go to homecampus.com to get started. We want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Maybe it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your program's doing in the community. The team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. That's Gipper.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, coaches, how about sponsors and alumni? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com for more information. It's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. And while he was earning his master's, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but they also have fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown is going to help you save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. For more information, just go to hometown.com. That's it, hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, kids, coaches, parents, and the information that came back was almost always over the top positive. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're speaking with an unsatisfied parent or student athlete. Really makes a difference. How about your principal or your school board? Having that data can save the day. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey for you and your school. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We are staying right here in Florida. We're going to Orange County. If you're not familiar, that's the Orlando area. And we're going to be visiting with Delica, but we're going to call her Renee Bellamy. She's the athletic director at Jones High School, and that's in Orlando. Renee, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, as you and I were talking, we really like to feature our Florida ADs. That's how the podcast got started. For our listeners, we're recording this on June 6th, so it's going to be pretty timely when you're listening to it. School's out, the kids are gone, final exams are over, but ADs are still on the job. Renee, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Renee Bellamy origin story?
Well, I was born in DeLand, Florida, Volusia County. I went to DeLand High School. I participated and excelled in four different sports: volleyball, basketball, ran track, and softball. Went to state in track, had a successful career there at the high school level. Received a four-year college scholarship at the University of South Florida down in Tampa, and was there from 90 to 94, and proud alumni, proud graduate of USF, and went abroad. My first contract was with Switzerland, played professionally basketball. Great, great country, great team. It was a family-owned team. They taught me a lot about money management. So
I really want to hear about that. We'll do that in our second segment. I want to go all the way back to growing up in DeLand. People who are outside of Florida, probably not that familiar, but, DeLand, kind of a powerhouse in sports. What was it like for you growing up? Were you right in DeLand? Was it suburban? Were you out in the sticks, rural? What was that like growing up for you?
DeLand is a very small town, very family oriented. A lot of my family, my mom's brothers and sisters all grew up here. So it was very close knit, the neighborhood. You knew your neighbors. If you did something wrong, they would tell you. So it was like old school. They supported all of the kids that were in the neighborhood, worked with you. Used to go outside all the time in my backyard and play with my neighbors, play kickball, play dodgeball, even played a little bit of um, what was it? We called it pickleball, but it was more like a volleyball over a hedge. So we kind of made up games as we went on. But I had a big family, a lot of cousins. Grew up with my grandmother. Every weekend we would go to her house, and that's where she taught us different chores, had us paired up to go do this, to go do that, and making sure that we knew about family chores and responsibility and being disciplined.
Yeah, boy, we are hearkening back to a time gone by. Kids going out and playing without adults around. Doing chores. But I don't want to get on my soapbox. You mentioned you were a four-sporter. You went to state and track. You ended up playing pro basketball. Was there ever a conversation from one of your coaches, Renee, you should focus on softball. You shouldn't be doing all those other sports. Was that ever a thing for you?
No, being that my family was sport oriented, very disciplined. I had an uncle that did semi-pro boxing, amateur boxing, and I spent a lot of time with him conditioning. Then they put a ball in my hand, and I was like, I kind of like this as well. So in seventh grade, I actually in seventh grade, because I used to play AAU ever since I was 10. I basically told myself I want to be a professional basketball player. But I played all those other sports so it could help me with basketball. But I made sure that I honed in on basketball every summer because I knew playing volleyball, I had to be in that volleyball stance, which is a defensive stance. Um, going with basketball, got to work on my ball handling skills and fundamentals. And there were parks all around my neighborhood. So I was able to at least attend those parks in the neighborhood center right up the street, Chisholm Center, is still in existence today.
I'm going to take that soundbite and turn it into a headline or get it out on the internet. Our parents, they need to hear that. I wanted to play pro basketball, but I knew I had to do the other sports. That's great. I love it. Um, Going on from high school to college, what are some things you remember about? I assume you're playing basketball at USF. What are some of your memories of your college days?
Well, my freshman year, going in, I pretty much had to earn every position that my coach put me at. Came in, she was a tough, disciplined person. But she told me if I worked hard, I would gain the spot, and that's what I did. I beat out a junior, I beat out a sophomore, um, and I didn't look back. Once I got my starting position, it was something where I stayed there every summer, got a summer job, and just worked out and worked on my game so I could get better for the new year. So my thing was just making sure that I was in assurance of my scholarship opportunity, having fun in college, participating in a sport that I loved ever since I was 10, and just making sure that I manifested and was able to push myself a little bit further in the professional ranks.
Wow, that's great. Now, back then, I say back then, there wasn't a WNBA. Um, but you played pro ball. Looking at your game back in the day when you were, right out of college, your peak athletic levels, uh, you think you could have played in today's WNBA?
Yes, I do, because I got a chance to actually go overseas and play. And when they started the WNBA, I was still overseas, but I got a chance to actually try out. I was given an opportunity with Detroit Shock, um, by Nancy Lieberman Klein.
Mhm.
She brought me in and gave me a chance. Then I had an opportunity to go out to Utah Stars for a tryout. There was quite a few people that were in my corner pushing, but they took like 50 elite that they considered to be the elite. The Don Staley's, the big name, Lisa
Right.
Leslie, Bridget Gordon, who's from my hometown as well. And those were the 50 that they started with the actual WNBA. And I was able to be content with, those tryouts and that experience and that opportunity. But going overseas, I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world, because I would have never been able to visit those countries and those experiences had I not been able to put a ball in the basket.
What's one of those experiences? I'm sure there were hundreds, but what's an experience that really sticks out for you from your time in Switzerland?
My first year in Switzerland was a blessing. That family owned team, the wife, she was a chemist at Nestle. So she got a chance to take me the Nestle chocolate to take me around so I could actually see, what Switzerland all entails. Got a chance to play with for different little Swiss cups. They helped me manage money. They showed me how, the American dollar is used based on the Swiss franc, and how to look at that, and then they talked to me a little bit about generational wealth, and that grew on me, because even though I knew that I only had 8 months there in Switzerland, that I would be going somewhere else, it helped me propel myself to the next country that I was going, so that way I could be able to help my family financially, and then save some money throughout my lifestyle.
Wow. Wow. You talk about life lessons. That's very cool. We're going to go and take our first break. For our guests, or for our listeners, our guest today is Renee Bellamy. She's the director of athletics at Jones High School right here in Orlando, Florida. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. For me, it's probably one of the best purchases I ever made when we bought our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Renee Bellamy. She's the Director of Athletics at Jones High School, and that's in the Orange County Public School District in Orlando, Florida. Renee, you shared with our listeners you were a professional athlete playing basketball overseas. Um, Take our listeners on your career journey that has now led you to Jones High School. What kind of stops did you have along the way?
Well, my first stop, I didn't go to school for teaching. I kind of fell into teaching through coaching. Um, my first opportunity was with Osceola High School down in Kissimmee, Florida. I came on as a JV basketball coach and assistant varsity under Jerry Lutz. He was a PE teacher, and I was just actually doing permanent sub. And then they had a position that brought me in to help out in the PE department. So I ended up being his assistant, and he was there for 1 year. And after he left, I got the head coaching job. So I was at Osceola High School for 5 years, and got the opportunity to go to the state tournament. I would say 2 years in a row, and after that, moved over to the college uh, area where I was coaching, and I was a academic advisor for the student athletes at Brevard Community College, which is known now as Eastern Florida State College. So
There's a common saying, I think for ADs, probably for coaches too. Uh, you don't know what you don't know. When you became that head coach, okay, what were some things that you found out that you didn't know about being a head coach?
one of the things was dealing with the community. Even though you were with the kids, there was an extra extension that was there with the community. You knew the community was there, but you had to make the community aware of the thought process that were going on. If they were used to something a certain way of the past, you're a new coach, you're coming in and you have to now be objective and listen to how, their thought processes are, and then try to get them to buy into the new thought processes. With being a head coach, and knowing that you have their child, at the best interest of making sure that that child is working hard, becoming successful, reassuring them that, I came from the same cloth, of trying to get to, college scholarship and opportunity. I'm going to do the same thing to try to help your daughter, get that opportunity as well. But, you hit some headway at times. Things can be challenging, because, kids tend to think that they're better than what they really are. So that tends to happen. So, and then the parents, they know that their child, they, they're, and it all comes back to the fact they want what's best for their child, but sometimes they may go about it the wrong way. So you hit some challenges there, but long as you're able to show them that you're there, ultimately for their kid and the other kids that are involved, and that we got to treat everybody pretty much the same, but just making sure through hard work and dedication and perseverance, those are things that are going to drive that opportunity at hand. So.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I'm curious. You said you didn't plan on being a coach. This wasn't a big goal of yours. How long did it take for you to realize, hey, this is something I really want to do?
I would say after I went to the state tournament with Osceola, I kept getting Coach of the Year, for the Orange Belt Conference, every year that I was there. So the success pretty much, I would say, helped that confidence of saying, okay, I could actually do this. I could coach. You know, I'm I'm someone who basically can touch lives, at an early way, in a positive way. and also help people realize, because I was young and I was still wanting to actually continue to play. But through the coaching, I was able to actually get out there and show them, because I was still, conditioning my body. So things that I put them through, I put myself through. And I said, hey, these are things that are going to get you where you need to be. So as a coach, I was still a coach slash player per se.
Mhm.
So when the kids listened, they were like, oh my God, my coach is out here doing a suicide with me, so, or doing some sprints, if she's out here running, I know I should be out here running. So, and keeping them all together during the summer months, that kind of helped as well.
Yeah. Um, I'm curious now. I'm guessing the school might not have had a lot of success in that sport prior to you coming on board. Is that a true statement?
Osceola was a football school.
Mm,
It did have boys and girls basketball, but it was on the incline, and we
right.
had two young ladies that we called the Twin Towers, Brittany Denson and Rashana Scipio. Those two were very elite at a young age, in ninth and 10th grade. So we had a lot of attention on them. Adidas came at us, Nike came at us, wanting them to participate in various summer leagues and different things until, it got to a point where, you know, it got a little bit out of hand to where that politics, kind of took it away from having fun, and enjoying the moment and enjoying winning basketball games into what we kind of had to put, a little bit of stamp on it and say, hey, we're going to stay even keel. We're going to do these type of things. We're going to go to camp. We're going to get better. We're going to play in summer leagues. But it wasn't the point where, I was initiating any of this. It was like I said, it came at us, and that's something that when they see elite athletes like that, and as you know now, times have changed. But back then, if they saw it, they pushed for it, and
Right.
it was up to the parents to make it happen.
I guess you kind of answered the question where I was going. I was going to ask, even the best coaches, that you got to have some talent that you can put out on the court or the field
Yeah.
or whatever. Uh, but you already alluded to, the hard work and the conditioning. You had, the Twin Towers. You talked about, summer camps and things like that, keeping the team together. Um, am I missing anything that was important to contributing to that run of going to state for those many years under your leadership?
With having those two, I actually had some supporting cast. I had a guard that was very, very fast. Speed for me was an advantage at Osceola. We had some point guards that came in that were very good handling the ball and could get up and down the court. So I used that to the advantage. Transition, we fed off of that. And that's something, if we could beat the opponent up the court with one or two passes, less dribbles, because we're running the floor and we're in great shape, that was our advantage. So our team embraced that. And we had some shooters that could shoot the three. So that kind of helped. We had a pretty all around, I would say my starting five, on any given day, I could have had the first 10 would have been a starting five, but I made them earn it.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, the practices were harder than the actual game. So when that way they came to the game, and I kind of built the high school kind of like a mini JUCO or a mini college, so that way they could prepare themselves when they did get the opportunity to go to college. So.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
Let's go and take our second break. Once again, our guest is Renee Bellamy. She's the Director of Athletics for Jones High School, and that's part of the Orange County Public School System. Let's take that break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success, and so will you. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Maybe it's just a quick post to celebrate a victory by one of your teams, or it could be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your school is doing in the community. The team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information, and don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. For me, their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is the gold standard. You really have to see it to believe it. And even if your state has a different administration software package, as an individual school, an individual AD, you can still use Home Campus and get all of its benefits. Go to homecampus.com for more information. And don't forget to mention the podcast.
Hey, Jake, I noticed that one of your sponsors here is Home Campus. We actually utilize Home Campus throughout OCPS. It's one of our athletic clearance tools as well and helps our coaches manage their games, and we use it for our contracts as well. So I find it to be very, very helpful. And I am on it quite a bit, quite almost every day, if not twice a day, throughout the day. So I would have to say that it's been a very informational tool for us to get a lot of our athletic director work completed.
Oh gosh, I really appreciate you saying that. And again, it's our state, it's the Florida High School state platform, but it is so effective. You mentioned, and I did too, the eligibility component. I'm curious. I was at a private school for many years, so we had fewer kids, but we actually had almost all of our parents. They were uploading those Florida required forms, the physical forms, the parent consent, all those things. They were uploading them into the platform themselves. I would, of
Mhm.
course, would check them off and confirm them. But do you use that feature with the public school where you have so many more kids?
Yes, we do. And what we try to do is kind of we the parent away from the student athlete doing because the parent has a tendency to actually have the passwords and the usernames, but we want to, be able to have that student athlete understand that it's their responsibility to
Oh,
actually upload it. So, that way we're not enabling them too much, because as they reach to high school, to coming from middle school, they kind of got to weed themselves a little bit off the parent and certain little things that we can do it, because sometimes immediately we might need to go to that student athlete, call them out of class and say, hey, go to your athletic clearance. And then they're like, well, I don't know my username. Like, but you should know your username, because this is something we've already went over. We want you to be the one that know that, because, technology today is a little different and it's advanced and they know all of that. So I'm like, so when you get to the athletic clearance, they're like, oh, well, my mom did it. No, well, guess what? We need for you to do it. We need for you to get to used to, doing this process, so that way now mom or dad doesn't have to actually hold your hand with that. So.
wow. That never occurred to me. And you are 100% spot on. I love that. Okay. I'm adding that tool to my toolbox. Okay. Great stuff. And again, that the feature, and listeners, we're talking to you right now. Um, you have the date of the physical as part of that platform. And so you, as the athletic director, you get a notification, and you can set the timing. I always did it a month ahead of time when that physical is going to expire in a month. Some kids,
Mhm.
some families get their physical in the middle of the year. You get a notification. So you can let that kid know, you can let the parents know, hey, you're going to need to get a new physical to be eligible
Yep.
for that next season. Great stuff. Thanks for sharing. Hey, our guest once again is Renee Bellamy. She's the director of athletics at Jones High School in Orlando, Florida. Renee, yeah, very successful career as a coach. How did you get into the athletic director world, and how did you end up at Jones High School?
Well, there were different skill sets after I left Osceola. with just the coaching piece and teaching physical education. I got an opportunity over at Brevard as a student advisor for athletics, where I was in charge of 7 sports, making sure that those student athletes received everything that they needed for their AA degree. So that was basically reading transcripts, making sure transfer information came in if we had a transfer. And you're only there for 2 years at the JUCO level. So making sure that they, exit out after those 2 years. So that way, educationally, they could go to a 4-year institution. So I got the opportunity of that skill set of sitting down with student athletes for those 7 sports and going over their career choices, their majors and what they want to go into, even though they were also student athletes in their sport. Once they moved on, they would know exactly what they needed to do from an academic standpoint as well. So that piece of that skill set, it was more like athletic administration piece on top of being the head women's basketball coach there at Brevard as well. So
Well, again, a lot of people make that jump from high school to college. What got you back into the high school world? What brought you to Jones?
well, I was over at Brevard for about 7.5 years. And then I also got a chance to actually take a break from the coaching piece to just be an academic advisor there for Brevard on the Cocoa campus. So I got a chance to work with some unique people that help with graduation rate, improving the graduation rate. And taking that break, it gave me an opportunity to see exactly what it is that I really wanted to go back into if I was still missing the coaching piece, and just wanted that coaching piece, and where I would land as far as what level. So I wasn't actually looking to go back into the coaching. And like I said, it fell in my lap again. I got a phone call from someone at Evans High School. An athletic director had contacted me, and then a friend of a neighbor contacted me and told me that there was a coaching position that was possibly going to open. And so that person, they said, hey, maybe you should apply for it. Are you ready to come back into, the high school rankings? And I was like, okay, back in Orlando, I could see myself back there. So like I said, that kind of fell in my lap again and got a chance to sit down with the athletic director and the previous coach that was exiting out at Evans. And it kind of went from there. And then the principal offered me a position there as well.
As you um, assume that role, what were some things that you immediately saw? Hey, this is pretty cool. I think we want to keep this. And what were maybe one or two things that you thought, hey, I think we can do better?
Finding the student athletes in the neighborhood, because high school sports, as you know, they got to be zoned for that school. There wasn't this school choice where we have now. It was a little bit more limited to where, student athletes pretty much had to go to the school that was in their district and that was zoned for it. There were ways around it that a lot of, people utilize from the outside, but for the most part, if you were at that school, and if you were there on campus, and I was in just about every different capacity at Evans for 8 years. And that was a blessing because I was there to build relationships with those students and the student athletes there on campus. And I think that's one of the missing pieces that a lot of coaches fail to realize, that if you're going to be a head coach, you need to be there on campus. Sometimes it can be a win-win situation, and sometimes it can, go in the opposite direction. But for the most part, it really helps the situation that you're building that relationship with those student athletes that are there on campus, and you're able to kind of fine tune what players are going to actually be there for you to set the tone. And you look at, previous experiences that you may have had. And you also, I'm a reflective type of person. So I always look at myself first before I look at others, of what things that I can change or improve on for the next coming year. So that way it can be something that is beneficial, not only for me, but also for the people that I'm involved with.
Well, now that you've been the director of athletics for a while, what are some things that you're particularly proud of? This is your chance to brag a little bit about your school.
I'm a humble person. I do a lot of things behind the table. But I would have to say, coming in my first year last year, there were some challenges, and I had to actually come in a little strong, and it came across a little different because I am a disciplinarian. It's not my way or the highway. It's just the mindset of changing people's mindset. And I think for the most part, I mean, I don't worry about if a person likes me or not. I worry about if it's in the best interest of our kids and our community and the constituents that basically surround that. Yes, there's politics. I get it. But when you have community people who come to you with ideas, and they're good ideas, but they don't know how to translate those ideas in making sure that they're doing it the right way by policy and procedure. So once you sit down with them and you hear their ideas and you hear them out and you say, okay, well, let me come back to the table, take an objective view, help them to understand that, hey, we're collaborating, we're working together. You're not coming in here to take over. And I think that's been the change in a positive way to where some of the community people, I did have some resistance. And in every job you do, but majority of the time I've had more of the positive pleasure of saying, hey, okay, I see where you're going with this. I see why it is that we got to, decline, previous years. You've explained to us this is the process, this is the policy and procedure, and we got to abide by it. So it's just a matter of just helping people understand that everything is a process. And it's not to say that, your way is a good way or a bad way. It's just how we can work together for the common good of these students, because that's the end result. We wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the students coming to the school and for the community basically bringing their kids, to our school. And we want to try to make sure that every student athlete has a positive experience and we're able to build good positive relations with them and help them in life.
Wow, you're just hitting so many key points here. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit about, how you do things at your school, or just to add you to their own network, what's the best way that they can get a hold of Renee Bellamy?
They can get a hold of me through email. It's Delicia, Delica .Bellamy @ocps.net. That's the best way to get a hold of me. A lot of times, if I'm there on campus, I'm there on campus and I'm walking around, I'm on duty, so I'm mingling with the kids. So, but I do go back to my email quite a bit and I will respond. So that's not a problem at all.
Well, again, we're going to take another break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but we're coming back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors and alumni? You got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to thank Ohio University and their Masters in Athletic Administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while he was earning his master's degree, he was also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. For more information, just go to Ohio University's website and check out their online Masters in Athletic Administration. That's Ohio University. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for athletic directors and leaders with their suite of solutions for things like digital ticketing. Oh, big surprise. They're still the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Um, Fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, school administrator, even a head coach, the team at Hometown is going to make it easy for you to save time, to raise more money, and to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information and don't forget to mention the podcast. That's hometown.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. Renee, you and I were talking a little bit during the break, and you're mentioning some of the things that you do with your district. I think that would be a great subject to share with our listeners. So, can you share what we were just talking about?
Yeah, being that we're at Jones and we sit in the heart of Orlando, a lot of our students and student athletes see different things that are out in the community that are hard fetched. There are things that are challenging for them, home life, not having a home life. And then, they come to school, they're doing the best that they can with, the situations that they have. So they have a lot of things that's heavy on their shoulders. Um, with athletics, we try to find a way to gravitate toward those students and help them, choose something, hone in on, your niche, find your niche, what you're good at, whether it's singing, whether it's dancing, whether it's cheerleading, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's tennis, whether it's bowling, baseball, softball, flag football. So all those sports that we have that are provided at our school, we use that as tools to generate that energy in a positive way. So we want our student athletes to be able to reflect on conflict resolution. So my plan this year, based on being there for 2 years and watching and seeing certain things that have went on throughout the course of those 2 years with our student athletes, is to bring a workshop there for our student athletes, as well as not just for the student athletes, but also for the parents and the community, to help them with some of those things that they struggle with. Bring in some community leaders that, can voice the resources that we have, because we have a very good community school that's there, that's ran by Miss Bango Cooper. She's our director over that. So we work closely with her through our athletic department on different little workshops that we can basically help our students be successful, and help them in life. Because to me, that's the common goal. You're touching lives, you're helping them be great from an athletic standpoint, and you're helping them with work ethic. The final solution is putting them when they leave us. Did we do our job in a positive way? Did we help them with the all around skills that, and being something that's holistic, being a true student athlete and being a good citizen when you actually leave Jones High School?
Boy, that's really, I mean, putting a philosophy, a mission into practice. Can you share, and I know you probably have hundreds, maybe even thousands of success stories. Can you share, one story of a student athlete that you've seen, go through this program and, on to, achieve, maybe fulfill, their potential?
We have one in particular, a student athlete. I won't name his name, but he was with our cross country program. He was also with our track program. And then he's with our AP program. He took some tests that he needed to take. And I just happened to walk with him one day, and he shared some things with me of his journey of being homeless. I would have never known. He never said a word. I met him last year, watched him, his mannerisms, and it's a testimony to other students, because he was a student athlete. He never said anything to anyone except for the people that needed to know, as far as, that he had those resources in place. And he continued to come to school, be a good citizen, never got in trouble. And he's going to Duke. He's going to Duke University. He's got a full scholarship to Duke. And to know that you had a student athlete around you, to help share some of that, light on his livelihood and how he persevered. And his story is just tremendous, and I wish that he does have the opportunity after his first year at Duke that he can come back and he can speak to our student athletes, because he's a true athlete. I mean, that's there, that went through the struggle, per se, but he made it out and he graduated, top, I think 5% of his class. And to be able to do that after all the challenges that he's went through, I think that's very, very, courageous and tremendous, as a human being, and some people don't, you take for granted, these kids that basically, have everything. And, he didn't have everything, but he still persevered and pushed through. And that
Wow.
touches my heart, to be able to be in the same sidewalk with him, walking, talking, just, and he's telling me about his life. And, and I'm like, all I could do is give him blessing and just say, hey, you've done a tremendous job, for us here with cross country and with track, and, and excelled. And he wants to be, I think, a biochemist. He has that type of brain. And I'm like, oh my God.
What a great story. Thanks so much for sharing. I mean, that's a Hollywood movie right there. You got to get some representation for that kid. Great
Yeah.
stuff. Um, Renee, this has been so cool connecting with you. We've been in Florida for, 25 years. Our paths haven't crossed yet, but looking forward to connecting with you down the road. But we're not done yet.
Okay.
We always finish with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics. We're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So
Okay.
let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to see what Renee Bellamy puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys and thank them for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, teachers, even parents. And here's the cool thing. Almost all of the responses that would come back on the surveys were positive. They were encouraging, which was tremendously valuable information to have when you were meeting with those frustrated parents or student athletes. Also valuable when you're meeting with your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. Let them create a survey so you can take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Renee Bellamy. She's the director of athletics at Jones High School in Orlando. Has a tremendous background as an athlete, as a coach, as a leader. But right now, I'm challenging her to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job. But I'm only going to let her put 3 items in that toolbox. So, Renee, what's going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
The new athletic director toolbox would consist of structure, organization, and discipline. I believe that preparation meets opportunity. That's one of the segments that I look at, just with my life alone. If new athletic directors come on and they have that structure, that organization, and their discipline within the things that they're doing, they're going to be, well grounded. You've got to bring different skill sets to the table, but I think those 3 components there would be suffice and helpful in starting out and making sure that, they have a plan at hand, and that plan does surround what the principal encompass as well, as far as the different things that they want to do for the school, because it's a branch off of, the athletic piece is a branch off of what the school basically has as a plan with OCPS. So.
Well, I just love the simplicity because each one is just such a foundational principle for success. And it's something that I think, even veteran ADs can sometimes get sidetracked from that. Um, Real quickly, from an organizational standpoint, what's something that you have found to be helpful in your experience to make sure that lack of organization is not going to be a downfall?
I would say each year, this is like I said, my second year, but every year I have sat down, written things down of wanting to, like I said, I'm a reflection type of person, reflect back on the things that didn't work, the things that worked, but the things that actually can improve. I'm always trying to improve. I'm not perfect, but I strive toward perfection. But I want to try to write a notebook down of different things that I would like to implement for the new year that would be a positive asset to the school, the community, and our students. So, that's one of the things that's being organized that I feel, if you're not organized, and, I have coaching staff that I tell all the time, soon as a kid realizes that you're all over the place, then they'll manipulate and try their best to get away with whatever they can. So if they see that you got that structure and that organization and that you're disciplined, I mean, even tough love, that's discipline, and especially if they're not receiving it at home, and like I said, the school is the safe haven, and it's making a way for these kids to basically be able to, being successful through the athletic department.
Right. Oh, yeah. Again, I love it. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, add you to their network, or pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me through my email, Delicia, Delica dot Bellamy at ocps.net.
All right. Well, Renee, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best, for the summer and the coming school year. We're definitely going to get you back on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it for this opportunity.
For our listeners, we want to thank you for tuning in. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices. So come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast.